a great offer. And after he puts that ring on, he can have a tiny sip of champagne.
Gracious winner.
Time for drawing a blank. Only 13 days away from the start of the regular season. So get this, the annual NBA General Manager Survey was published yesterday. Bunch of questions to a bunch of GMs about a bunch of topics. All right, you three guys dove into the survey. Chris Broussard, the thing that stood out most from the GM survey was blank.
Best center, Jenna, best center. And you guys know, I was all in. I defended my vote many times on this show. Nikola Jokic was the MVP. All right, but he is not better than Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid would have been the MVP had he played in enough games. And that's my only explanation for this. Like, I guess that the GMs took durability and availability into consideration. Because Jokic rarely misses a game. He played every game last year. And Embiid has never played more than 65 games or even 65 games in a season. So that is the only explanation for having Jokic, who's great, ahead of Embiid. Embiid's a better scorer. He's a great mid-range shooter. He's a better rebounder. Though it's close, he's a far better defender. I mean, that isn't even close. He gets to the foul line twice as much as Jokic does. So he is better. That doesn't mean Jokic isn't great. But Embiid is the best center in the NBA, and I think he'll go out and show it again this year without Ben Simmons. Let me quickly add this. I was also surprised by the MVP pick. It was Kevin Durant. Obviously, Durant's one of the best players in the league, but we know how this works. A lot of times when you have a superstar teammate or teammates, if Kyrie plays, they cancel each other out a lot. It's not impossible to win MVP with that because LeBron did it in Miami, but it's difficult. I got Luka as my preseason MVP pick, followed by Embiid and Steph Curry.
Luka's a smart pick, and Luka will come into camp in shape this year, unlike last year when he didn't know when the season was starting. I was a little surprised by the wanton disrespect for the Milwaukee Bucks up and down this poll. They did just win the title. Giannis did score 50 in a game to win the championship, and they're like, hey, the Bucks, are they even the third best team in the East? Who knows? But more surprising and more notable was this. The GM said, is LeBron James top 5 at every position? No, but he is top 5 at 3 of them. Top 5 point guard? Check. Top 5 small forward? Check. Top 5 power forward? Check. And this is where I remind America that in NBA history, there has never been a guy who was top 10 at one position in year 19. But LeBron James somehow, going into year 19, seems to be top 5 at 3 of them. Year 19 for Karl Malone was his Lakers year. He was 13 points per game. Year 19 for Kareem was his second to last year. He was 14 points per game. Year 19 for Kobe was his second to last year. He played 35 games and averaged around 20 points. A player in year 19 being consensus top 5 at 3 of the 5 spots on the court. It's not just that it's unprecedented. It's that it is unimaginable for any player other than LeBron James. So while he didn't get any MVP votes, which was, you know, a little disrespectful, but don't worry, just add it to the Washed King dossier that he's building for when he hoists ring number 5. Top 5 at 3 different spots for LeBron James, point guard and both forward spots in year 19 is utterly remarkable, Kevin Wildes.
Okay, cool. Quick thing on surveys. Have you ever looked at a survey and come away from it thinking, I feel good about the rational thinking skills of most people, but I don't. It's like, hey, here's a question. Are you filling out a survey? 91% of the people say yes, 9% say no. Like, good almighty. Here's one that's almost as bad. Is Giannis the best international player? I don't know. Yes, 100%. It should be, but it's not. Last year, he was 68%. So what did he do? Win the championship and win Finals MVP. And what happened? He dropped down to 60%. Luka's at 27%. The Joker's at 13%. Look, not one of these GMs, if the Bucks management got on the phone and said, hey, would you like to trade Joker for Giannis? They would be doing backflips. Giannis is obviously the best international player. 100%. My takeaway from this is that there is about 33% of GMs in the league who have no idea what they're doing.
That's correct.
Does it surprise anyone that Wilds doesn't like surveys?
We started a nice note and came down.
And the Nets remain unclear on whether he plans to get the vaccine at all. If he doesn't, no home practice, no home games. Nets head coach Steve Nash was asked if they could possibly move their practices out of New York to accommodate Kyrie, to which he said no. This is our home. Yeah. This is where we're going to practice. And we have almost a whole group, so that's a positive. And we're just working at getting better every day and focusing on the things we can control. All right, so you're going to ask, well, financially, what does this mean? So here's a look. I know. Here's a look at the financial side of this, courtesy of Bobby Marks. Kyrie set to lose more than $380,000 for each missed home game. Take that in. Chris Broussard, I'll start with you. How should the Brooklyn Nets handle the Kyrie situation, which has now become a situation?
Yeah, Jenna, they clearly need guidance, and I'm going to give them some. All right, so if Kyrie can't play in home games and practices, first of all, you try to trade him. All right, and I'm sending him to the Knicks boy down in Philadelphia, Daryl Morey. My problem for your problem, Kyrie Irving for Ben Simmons. I hate the trade in the division. That's going to make Philadelphia pretty good. It's going to make New Jersey or Brooklyn. It's going to help them. But we both got problems. Let's do it. Now, as our Nick Wright reported a couple weeks ago, Kyrie's people have told the Nets that he'll retire if he's traded. So if a trade is off the table, then I'm doing this. Kyrie, we're sitting down, not mean-spirited, no banishment, but we're giving you a COVID exemption. All right? We're giving you a COVID exemption where you're obviously not playing in home games, but you're not playing in road games either. You're not with the team at all. You're away. Just like in the bubble, you're away. We're giving you a COVID exemption. You still get half your salary. We can't do anything about that. You won't be paid for home games because you're not available, but you will get your money for your road games that you're not playing in. The exemption would last this long, either until your contract ends at the end of this season, either until you decide to get vaccinated, or until New York changes its law and would allow you to play and practice within the state. That's it. That's what I'm doing, because chemistry is important. You cannot win an NBA championship. This is not AAU. I know there's similarities, and people call the NBA glorified AAU. It is not. You need chemistry and you need continuity to win a championship. And they will not win a championship with Kyrie popping in and out of the lineup, and not practicing. All right, because most of their practices will be at home. We learned that with my Clippers, Jenna, a couple years ago. Kawhi Leonard, because of load management, in and out of the lineup, right? And it came back to bite them in the playoffs. And the Nets are good enough to win a championship without Kyrie. James Harden almost won one with just Chris Paul. He can do it with Kevin Durant and a really solid supporting cast. Last thing, Kyrie, as great as he is, and you guys know I'm on the record, first ballot Hall of Famer in my book. But as great as he is, he hasn't had much of an impact on winning. All right, when he was first with the Nets, played 20 games. Kevin Durant was out all year. They were 8-12 with Kyrie, Nick. They were 27-25 and made the playoffs without him. We remember Boston. Without him, they go to Game 7 against LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals. With him, they go out in the second round in 5 games. So, Nick, I'm giving Kyrie a COVID exemption. You're gone. It's the only way to get rid of the distraction for the entire year, unless he, gets vaccinated.
Listen, this has reached almost farcical where we're at now. And I know there are folks out there that believe, and I imagine the Nets or some of them, or at least hope, Kyrie's going to get vaccinated at the last minute. I think that if he does that, it is such an indictment on this entire process that I don't believe that's the case. For Kyrie to do that, it's not like there's new data or information or FDA approval that is just days away. If that is what ends up happening here, then this whole thing has been with all due respect, a look at me, I'm so unique, I'm so interesting, but I'll actually do what I was always going to do. So I don't think he's doing that. I think that Kyrie Irving, for some reason or another, I'm sure there's a YouTube video that could elucidate me on it, has decided this is the route he is going to take. And if that is the case, I do not understand how anyone can look at the Nets and say they are championship favorites or anything close to it. And by the way, even if Kyrie at the last moment does get vaccinated, I feel the same way. What do we have with the Brooklyn Nets? We have Kevin Durant, one of the 15 greatest players in the history of the game, still at the peak of his powers, unimpeachable on both ends of the court.